This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Precisely 6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News edited by Danushka Madhavala and read by Sharifa Tahir. Headlines. The President will address the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly tomorrow. The President held a fruitful meeting with the Prime Minister of Bangladesh in New York yesterday. Acting Finance Minister said it has been proven that there will be no harm to the EPF through domestic debt optimization process of the country. The Colombo Port City will be promoted to the investors on the 26th of this month. The government hopes to impose a tax from uncultivated lands. Foreign news, Azerbaijan launches operations against Nagorno-Karabakh and demands surrender. Local news in detail now. President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who is now in USA with the Sri Lankan delegation participating at the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, will address the General Assembly tomorrow. His speech will revolve around the theme Rebuilding Trust and Reigniting Global Solidarity, Accelerating Action on the 2030 Agenda and its Sustainable Development Goals towards Peace, Prosperity, Progress and Sustainability for All. Meanwhile, in a significant diplomatic meeting, President Ranil Wickremesinghe held a fruitful meeting with Prime Minister of Bangladesh, His Excellency Sheikh Hasina, in New York yesterday. The meeting centered on various aspects of bilateral relations and cooperations between the two South Asian nations. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina informed President Wickremesinghe that she was pleased with Sri Lanka's speedy recovery from the financial crisis, adding that she had not expected Sri Lanka to pay back the loan so fast. During the discussions, President Wickremesinghe extended his heartfelt gratitude to Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and the people of Bangladesh for their unwavering support and assistance to Sri Lanka during challenging times. He acknowledged the assistance received by Sri Lanka and expressed his profound appreciation for Bangladesh's generosity. President Wickremesinghe, in a gracious gesture, also apologized for not being able to visit Bangladesh in the past due to various commitments and circumstances. He affirmed his desire to strengthen the ties between the two countries and proposed the possibility of visiting Bangladesh in November or December, aligning with the convenience of the Bangladeshi government. Acting Finance Minister Ranjit Siambalapitiya said, "Now it has been proven that there will be no harm to the EPF through domestic debt optimization process of the country." He said that the people have identified that allegations made by some parties are baseless. He also said that the interest rate of 9% per annum of the Employees Trust Fund as guaranteed for its members until 2026 is reasonable. The central bank may reduce interest rates further. Siambalapitiya said that the interest rates offered by the ETF were 9% in 2018, 8% in 2019, and 2020, 7.25% in 2021, and 8.25% in 2022. The minister said so at the launch of the Nipunata Savia Scholarship Scheme held at the Department of Labour Auditorium yesterday. State Minister Dilum Amunagamba said that the Colombo Port City will be promoted to the investors on the 26th of this month. Former UK Prime Minister David Cameron has come forward to promote the Colombo Port City, dubbed as Sri Lanka's game changer for the future. Cameron is slated to promote the Colombo Port City at an invitee-only separate top events in Abu Dhabi and Dubai. He will be involved in a conversation on now is the time to invest in the port city Colombo, Sri Lanka. The exclusive event will also focus on the role of Sri Lanka in the new Indo-Pacific economy and position Port City as the nexus of trade, investment and sustainability. The event will showcase Colombo Port City as a new city rising from the Indian Ocean as a strategic financial, residential, medical, education, leisure and entertainment hub of South Asia, Indian subcontinent, Middle East, East Africa and also for Southeast Asia. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation giving you the news. We move on to more local news in detail. State Minister for Social Empowerment, Mr. Anupama Pasquale, said that the government hopes to impose a tax from uncultivated land. The tax will be released if the land has been given to Samruddhi beneficiary to cultivate on that land. The State Minister made these remarks addressing the Parliament yesterday. Tax income will be used for the benefit of the Samruddhi beneficiaries. The State Minister also said that there are many barren lands available in the country. People have requested the government to provide them lands to cultivate, and it will help the country's development drive. A school-based series of programs is underway to prevent child abuse. The aim of this program is to make aware the school children and parents living in the areas where child abuse is prevalently reported. This is organized by the National Authority for Protection of Victims of Crime and Witnesses. The economic and social issues faced by the families are a main cause of child abuse. National Child Protection Authority says that 5,000 complaints have been lodged during the last 7 months regarding child abuse. That's local news for the moment.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatma.
The Education Minister Susil Premajant announced in Parliament yesterday that the Commissioner General of Examinations will soon provide information whether this year's advanced level examinations will be postponed or not. This statement came in response to a proposal made by SJB MP Rohini Kaviratna, who suggested postponing the A-level examinations to January of the following year. MP Kaviratna proposed conducting the A-level examinations from January 22nd to February 17. She also mentioned that the A-level results could be released by May of the following year, and next year's A-level examinations could be held in October as usual.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatma.
And on what's light, the Provincial Department of Health Services, Northern Province, has implemented a ban on the use of social media for health workers, including doctors, during duty hours. Provincial Director of Health Services, Northern Province, Dr. T. Satyamurthy, told local media that the decision comes after numerous complaints were received alleging that some health workers were using their mobile phones to browse social media platforms instead of attending to patients seeking treatment. However, the provincial director stated that the ban specifically applies to social media usage during duty hours and does not restrict the use of mobile phones for legitimate work-related purposes.
World News, brought to you by courtesy of...
It's the power to live life your way. The power to be a trendsetter. Power to you with digital banking from Commercial Bank. Commercial Bank. Our interest is in you.
World News headlines: Azerbaijan launches operation against Nagorno-Karabakh and demands surrender. U.S. child dies from fentanyl kept under nursery nap mat. Derna mayor's house burnt down in Libya flood protests. World News in detail. Azerbaijan has launched anti-terror operations in Nagorno-Karabakh and said it will not stop until ethnic Armenian separatists surrender. Tensions in the South Caucasus have been high for months around the breakaway enclave recognized internationally as part of Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan and Armenia last went to war 3 years ago. Baku ordered illegal Armenian military formations to hand over arms and dissolve their illegal regime. Azerbaijan and Armenia first went to war in the early 1990s after the fall of the Soviet Union. Then in 2020, Azerbaijan recaptured areas in and around Nagorno-Karabakh before a truce was agreed and monitored by Russian peacekeepers. Ethnic Armenians in Karabakh appealed on Tuesday for a ceasefire and for talks to start. But it was clear from the Azerbaijani ultimatum that Baku's aim was to complete its conquest of the mountainous enclave. A kilogram of fentanyl was found under nap mats at a nursery in New York where one child died and 3 others were taken to hospital, police say. Police believe the children ranging in age from 8 months to 2 years old inhaled the powerful narcotic drug at the Bronx nursery last week. 3 children were given Narcan, an emergency medication used to reverse opioid overdose. Drug conspiracy and murder charges have been filed against 2 people. Nicholas Dominici, who was due to turn 2 in November and had attended the nursery for just 1 week, died of a suspected drug overdose on Friday. A search of the nursery turned up 1 kilo of fentanyl that was discovered underneath a mat where the children had been sleeping earlier, said NYPD Chief Detective Joseph Kenny on Monday. They also allegedly discovered 3 presses used to package kilos of drugs, investigators say. Finally, on world news, the mayor's home in the Libyan city of Derna has been burnt down as hundreds of protesters demanded answers for last week's catastrophic flood. They gathered on Monday night at the city's landmark Sahaba Mosque, many chanting for top officials in Libya's eastern government to be sacked. Derna's whole city council has now been dismissed. Internet and telephone access have also been shut down and journalists ordered to leave in a media crackdown. More than 10,000 people are officially missing after 2 old and dilapidated dams burst, flooding the city. Figures given for the number of people known to have died have varied widely, but the UN says it has confirmed close to 4,000 deaths. The UN now says one of its teams have been refused permission to enter Derna. That's on World News.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
This message is for all the kids between the ages of 4 and 16 who love to draw. Commercial Bank's Arunalu Sittam is back once again. This time, the competition is also open to Sri Lankan kids currently living abroad. First, second and third place prizes will be awarded along with special merit and merit certificates. For more information, visit the Commercial Bank website. We have so many prizes to be won.
Development News.
Export Development Board has identified value-added mineral products sector as a potential sector to be developed and promoted in the international market. Sri Lanka possesses a wealth of industrial minerals that can be processed and transformed into value-added products. This value addition can create higher value exports, generate more employment opportunities, and contribute to the country's economic growth. In this regard, a meeting was held with the members of Chamber of Mineral Exporters and Export Development Board recently to fostering unprecedented growth in Sri Lanka's mineral sector. That's on development news. Moving on to sports news. Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola says his side are in trouble with a mounting injury list that threatens to disrupt the club's perfect start to the season. City only had 6 outfield players on their bench for the 3-1 Champions League victory over Red Star Belgrade. And their 7th successive triumph in all competitions came at a cost as midfielder Bernardo Silva became the latest player to pick up an injury which, according to Guardiola, will keep him out for the next few weeks. The Portuguese international joins Kevin De Bruyne, Jack Grealish, Matteo Kovacic and John Stones on the sidelines. That's on Sports News.
Go එකක් තියන youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The parents of FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried are being sued for money they allegedly received improperly from the crypto firm ahead of its collapse. In a filing, managers at the bankrupt firm accused the couple of holding millions of fraudulently transferred dollars and of turning a blind eye to misconduct at the company. The action was filed on behalf of those owed money after the firm's failure. The fall of the company led to the arrest of Mr. Bankman-Fried last year.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go එකක් තියන youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
And on economic news, Agriculture Minister Mahinda Amaravira said that the government has no plans whatsoever to increase the prices of eggs and chicken in the future. During a media briefing, he said that the import of eggs was a temporary measure to address shortages caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. He further stated that there are no plans to continue the import in the future. The government's focus is to boost local egg and chicken production instead. By supporting an increase in local production, the government aims to ensure a steady and sustainable supply of eggs and chicken within the country, the minister added.
Weather report.
Showers or thunder showers will occur at times in western and Sabaragamu provinces and districts. Several spells of showers will occur at northwestern province and in the Kandy, Nuwara and Hambantota districts. Showers or thunder showers will occur at several places in Uva and eastern provinces during the evening or night. Fairly heavy showers above 50 millimeters can be expected at some places. That's the weather update, and before we wind up this bulletin of news, back to the headlines. The President will address the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly tomorrow. The President held a fruitful meeting with the Prime Minister of Bangladesh in New York yesterday. Acting Finance Minister said it has been proven that there will be no harm to the EPF through domestic debt optimization process of the country. The Colombo Port City will be promoted to the investors on the 26th of this month. The government hopes to impose a tax from uncultivated lands. Foreign news: Azerbaijan launches operations against Nagorno-Karabakh and demands surrender. With that, we conclude this bulletin of news.